everyone. I'm Jiten Singh. I welcome you to read my story where I interview authors, speakers, coaches, celebrities, entrepreneurs, and more. Today I have with me Miss Priya Almeida. She is an entrepreneur, career counselor, language trainer, and life coach. She has done BSc in agriculture and MA in English literature, diploma in the environment and pollution control, diploma in soft skill and business communication, and professional certification in communication skills from Trinity College London. She is the Secretary Advocate Rudolph Almeida Memorial Trust. Their vision is to create a mindful and empowerment citizenry. Their mission is to work with all strata of society with a primary focus on women and children. She is an academic coordinator and the pre-primary teacher training program. She is a creative writer, teacher, public speaker, faculty, Zumba fitness instructor, BollyActive fitness instructor, and member of the Advisory Council British Learning. Today she will be discussing with us about her life journey. So let us hear from her. Welcome Priya, the platform is open and now over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. The pleasure is mine. Thanks for having me. So basically, I am a freelance teacher trainer, and my journey has been very checkered. I started off as a teacher of horticulture. I was deputed by the government, and I spent 2 years teaching agriculture and horticulture to students of age, basically of class 11 and 12. And then the course fizzled out, and then I ventured into English literature because I had done a BSc in agriculture. So my journey took me to another course wherein I did an MA in English literature because I always had this forte for language, and I used to write poems, I write in the papers. I always felt that if I didn't have a voice, I think my pen could do it. So as they say, the pen is mightier than the sword. So I used my pen to, as they say, give vent to what I was feeling inside. I used poetry to express my emotions. So I felt that language and training and teaching and expressing with the spoken word was my forte. So that took me on another journey, and I always feel that there is a very close relationship between agriculture and literature, because when you love nature, when you love basically everything around you, you are a romantic, and that is a very good quality when it comes to writing poetry, because we have many romantic poets like John Keats, William Wordsworth, and I'm in their footsteps because nature makes me glow and shine, and I feel a sense of liberation, nature. So basically, the turning point in my life was when I did my MA literature, and then I started teaching communication skills again at the plus 2 level, class 11 and 12, where they had a special program for vocational students to develop and build on their communication skills. So I felt I was imparting very important technical knowledge of the language, basically the spoken word. It was not like creative writing and all of that, which I do now with the students of BBA. That is, they have a module. They have a module in business of students of business, bachelors in business administration. They have a module in public speaking and creative writing. Now that's a little, a different genre altogether. So basically, that's how my journey has been thus far. Now I've also ventured into soft skills training, and I'm in the process. The process is in my mind right now, but every day I write a page or two in my mind, but it's hopefully coming out soon. It's a book on phonetics. That's what I teach nursery teachers at the program, and on communication skills with requirements for pre-primary school teachers. How to, also soft skills and spoken skills, English, spoken skills for pre-primary teachers. How they can really mold young kids and chisel them at that very young age.
Wow, that's so great to hear about all these things. That's wonderful. You're working on so many things all together. So if I talk about you, your past life, how it has affected the person who you are and what you wanted to be in your life?
Well, for me, if you ask me frankly, there's no past life scenario, but yes, I know that in this life itself, I've been an introvert and a very, very shy person, never wanting to go beyond, the prescribed limit. But again, I found a transition in life, a metamorphosis from that person I was not known, not heard of, a very low key performer in terms of studies, very average at school, and I consider myself lucky that I've bloomed suddenly into this different person that I am right now. When I look into the mirror, I say this is not the same Priya that was in school way back. So for me, my past life has been in this life itself, and I have transitioned it and metamorphosed into something quite different, and that has also pleasantly surprised.
So if I talk about your childhood, you always want to be a teacher, trainer.
I had no aspirations as a child. I was just this, happy child, not wanting to bear the burden of perhaps, have a profession. Just wanted to enjoy my childhood, and I used to play teacher. Yes, that was something that all kids play.
Right.
But I never actually, yes, I had very strict parents. My father was a freedom fighter here in Goa, and both of them were teachers and lawyers, and they were very rigid in their disciplining. They wanted me to be a teacher, my brother a doctor, and my sister a lawyer. So none
Okay.
of us did what they wanted to do. That's another story.
Right.
But yes, so that's how rigid our parents were, and we all broke the norms. We all shattered the glass ceilings, and we are pretty much happy doing what we are doing because it's giving us immense happiness.
Great. That's really wonderful if you do whatever you do and you enjoy really doing it. So
Right.
great. So if I talk about things you are passionate about in your life, so what are those things?
I'm very passionate about actually, molding youngsters, especially, perhaps college students and even younger than that. Well, the older people are a little difficult to manage, but the younger ones are very
Right.
moldable. So because we are looking at future citizens of India, so I think I feel the onus lies on each teacher and trainer to create that for our country. So I believe if we chisel and mold them well, and I'm very passionate about saying this because it all depends on how these young minds and young hearts are molded and chiseled. So
Right.
that's my passion right now, to reach out in all possible ways to create that kind of scenario for India, so that the India that we have tomorrow will be much different. We'll have a resilient India, we'll have a happy India, we'll have a healthy India, we'll have a tolerant India, and a
Correct.
progressive India.
Correct. That is responsibility lies on every parent, every teacher, every trainer. Like everybody, I would say, have a whole
Yes,
these type
basically,
of
yeah.
responsibilities.
True.
So if I talk about your work and experiences, like how you started your work and what all you did so far.
So basically, I've done many things in my life, and I keep transitioning from this and that and the other because I love a whole gamut of experiences that makes me richer. So I started off teaching. I also was a personal tutor. I worked as a medical transcriptionist. We used to get medical files from the US and UK, and we used to transcribe it into some sensible format on Word and then dispatch it to the US. So that was another different aspect of my life. And then I also took up training people in fitness. There was this period in my life where I realized that what happens to your body affects your health, affects the mind. Okay, psychosoma, as they say. So I decided to go all out and pursue my passion for fitness. I got a license. I went up to Delhi and got a license for Zumba fitness. I went ahead and got a license for Zumba Fitness Kids to impart, fitness training for kids. I'm the first BollyActive. It's a new program introduced from Australia. The pioneer is an Indian settled in Australia. So she brought her program to Mumbai, and I was the first Goan to be trained in Mumbai, and I'm the only Goan in right now with the BollyActive fitness. It has Bollywood music, Hindi film music, but we use it very effectively for fitness because see, certain crowd loves Hindi music, certain crowd loves Latin music, and Zumba is Latin music, westernized, and here we have our Indian Bhangra and all that. Garba tones and all that, all for fitness. So basically that took me there, and then I wanted to start an institute where I could really reach out, and wherever I worked, there was no freedom for me to do or tweak things in a manner that I would feel would benefit. So when I started this own institute with the help of my mother and my sister, who are trust members in our trust. I could manage to tweak many things that I found appropriate to be introduced. So with that, I introduced mindfulness, happiness curriculum, communication skills, phonetics. These are beyond the parameters of that program, which is a
Right.
prescribed program that comes from Ministry of Human Resource Development. I've also introduced Montessori training as well. So basically, to make it more holistic and mindfulness. Mindfulness is a very important factor, and counseling and guidance.
Right.
So
Right.
this I've tweaked the program in such a way that so right now I'm at a stage wherein yes, I teach, but I want to create. Like my mind is always churning ideas, and if I had the money and if I had the resources in terms of physical and financial, I would have really gone all out to
Great.
make all the
Great, wonderful. So you have done so many things in different fields altogether, and the experience were like different from each other, and yet they all were kind of interesting in itself.
right. I've also dabbled in journalism. I used to have a very steady column called Woman Power, wherein I used to feature women who were unsung heroes in their respective fields. I also ventured into general article writing, writing about nature, environment, entertainment, restaurant reviews. So writing has been a very great part of my life as well. And today, if I feel like and I'm in a mood for writing, I just pen down poetry, based on situations that bring out a lot of emotions. Whether it is something to do with tolerance, religious tolerance in our country, whether it was the war in Kargil, or whether it was basically something to do with crime here, in our country, or just basic values, something that touches.
Right.
And that's how I ventured into being a creative writing teacher at
That's
the
great.
Bachelor of.
That's really inspirational too. That you are doing so many things and all together in different areas of the field, and yet you are like creating your mark on each of these areas. That is so wonderful. And if I talked about your vision, mission, and goal for next 5 to 10 years from now, what do you think it should be?
Well, my vision is to reach to as many as possible. See, I might meet many people, but I will not be able to touch everyone's life. So
Right.
if I touch, I should sincerely be effective in, at least reaching out and touching a few people, so that that difference will really take them to a higher ground. So that
Right.
is my vision. It's not about leading my life only for myself and uselessly. I don't want my life to be a useless venture. It has to be an adventure for me. It has to be a venture wherein I reach out to people who would really be lifted to so basically upliftment, people who need it to a higher ground. So
Right.
that's my vision for the next 5 years now.
Great.
And my mission would be to work with like-minded people, to
Right.
help. See, nothing is possible
Correct.
on my own steam. So we need a team. We need people to work with you, to synchronize, and to to be with that vision that you have. So I'd like to work with like-minded people. So there are several people who would want to join me, but then I would like to curate the people who would want to join me. I would like to cherry pick the right people who really know what my vision is and help me with my
Correct.
mission.
Correct. And that is really a noble cause you are working on. And you definitely would get people who are having similar thoughts, similar
Right.
ideas, and willing to work on same path.
Work.
So great
Right.
to hear about that. If I talk about the most important life lessons you have learned so far from your personal and professional journey, so what
Mhm.
are these things you would like to share with us?
The life lessons that I've learned in life basically are, never to take things for granted. Yes, you may have goals, you may have aspirations, but being like I was born in a family where my parents could afford and could give me what I wanted, but not something extraordinary, but basically our education and studies. But I didn't work hard enough, and that's where I think I basically lack. Wherein whatever I undertook, it would be like taking things for granted. Well, my parents are well connected, they'll do this for me, I'll get this and I'll get that. So I never realized that I had to work like I'm working now. I didn't think that I would have it the hard way. I always thought that since my parents were well connected, I would be somewhere in the government sector, maybe having a nice pensioned job and stuff like that. So I took things for granted. I didn't really. That's something that most young people do. I wasted my active childhood, wherein I could really explore my caliber and really do well for myself. So that's where I feel it has been my biggest learning lesson. Never ever take anything in life for granted, because there's no free lunch in life.
Correct. Agree with that. So, if I talk about the things which we were talking early about the communication and the need for the communication in family. So, we see so many people stay together in a family, and having a right communication is the key for a successful relationship. So, if we talk about that, how to have proper communication in it, all along with different people, because they have different mindsets, they have different age groups. So, managing communication with them is sometimes really difficult. So how to handle all these kind of communication related issues?
So as they say in sociology, that the family is the basic unit in a society, and it is where we first learn speak. Our first words come out of our mouth in that family that we are born into. So basically, as we all know, that a successful family is one in which there is very good effective communication. It's not just about communicating and not being effective enough. So basically, as of today, as there's a lot of strife and conflict in families, it's because being that unit of communication, people in a family somehow lose sight of the fact that it's not about the chores that they do or the duties that they do, but it is something much beyond. It's that basic sense of empathy and mindfulness that you feel for the other member that makes you communicate effectively. Now we are looking at communication beyond ego. So when there is ego, the play of ego as well, and a mission, basically it's ego, basically the ego that interferes with effective and mindful communication. So you see, every even a child has an ego, but not as advanced as a male has. So when we hold on to that ego, like, yes, I want to do this and I'm right, and you have the other person in a family setup, maybe spouses, I'm right, and why should I bow down? Why should I say the sorry? Why should I agree to that? I've not done it. So everyone wants to prove that he or she is in a superior position. So that's human nature. That's our ego. So basically, we have never been educated enough in our schools to get over that. As Buddha says, ego is a destroyer.
Correct.
So basically, right now, we all try to communicate from that egoistic angle.
Right.
That is the basis for all strife and miscommunication. So that is eliminated, and we are more mindful in our conversation. So basically, to come back to my point, if we communicate from the mindfulness angle, which we lack today, communication is what I see through my personal experience as well, that we are not mindful and empathetic about the person we are talking to.
Correct.
If we are, then we would choose the right word. We would be more tactful based on who the person is, whether it's our spouse, a teenage child, a young child, a child throwing tantrums, an in-law, or somebody in the friend circle. Okay, it's the tact which it comes because you are mindful and you are dropping that sense of ego about yourself. So we all should communicate from that childlike sense of innocence, like a child who is maybe 1 and 2. That child has no ego.
Correct.
And see how well they communicate. So I think today that sense, that egoistic sense of self-being, that comes in the way of our communication. So that is the barrier, I feel. Yeah,
right. And one point you rightly highlighted, that how to communicate properly in a family, never been taught to kids when they were growing, neither in this nor in family. So that is one area of concern. I see it as area of concern. Secondly, if we talk about family also, there are so many people staying all together. Like if we talk about nuclear, then husband, wife and kids are there. So 3 to 4 people would be staying together. The kind of conflict would be lesser as compared to the joint family, because there would be grandparents, then parents, then kids. Then apart from them, brother and sisters would also be there in a family, and communicating with each relationship is entirely a different thing altogether, because you have to communicate in a different way. To your parents, you can communicate more closely, but to your uncle, your aunt, the communication would be different because you cannot be that comfortable as you are with your parents. Then if we talk about grandparents, there would also be a kind of communication, different type of communication altogether. Similarly, for
Right.
instance, husband and wife, talking to their parent is much more comfortable, and talking to their in-laws would be little difficult because you cannot share everything like you share with your parents. So that is kind of a thing altogether, make difference, a lot of difference while we communicate. So we don't get right kind of education in terms of how to handle and manage these relationships in a way. We how should we communicate in a proper way? That is one thing which we should start working on, teaching our kids from the beginning. That will help to understand and make them comfortable with all the relationship around and take the communication at a better stage, better level.
Right. Right. So that's basically, that the crux of all communication is communicate from a perspective of this awareness and mindfulness, because we are having communication, but that's not mindful communication.
Right.
So if every individual is trained to be mindful of what the other person, even like, sometimes you go to a government office and the employees, yells at you. What would your reaction? Yell back or get annoyed or say something rude enough? But if you step back, we need to always step back, pause, take a breather. That was not for us. The reaction of that employee is definitely not for us. So how many people can think like that? He yelled at me, I will yell back. That's because my ego has been crumbled. My ego has been touched upon and it has been hurt.
Correct.
Okay, so these are the unspoken ways wherein a person wants to hit back at someone because the ego has been really bad hurt.
And when we talk about the family relationship, ego is more. As if we compare the kind of communication we have outside, we do certain compromises there, but in terms of like family communication and all, we don't do that.
We don't do that. That's such an important point. Like yesterday, I was having an argument with a very close family member, and it was so difficult for my family member to agree with what I was saying because of the ego. The family member is very elderly, and I was just laying down certain facts very threadbare, and that family member being very senior and being a very close family member couldn't see eye to eye and just didn't want to discuss anything more and was not acknowledging at all. So that's where that I felt that communication was breaking down. So I also decided to step back and wait for the person to actually, then the person perhaps goes through introspection. But the effort is all lost. When it was time to communicate, it was not happening. To kind of rekindle that communication as an after effect, it becomes difficult.
Correct.
So people don't realize it's so important that one communication with that person makes all that difference. You can't delay it for later.
Correct.
So have that best communication at that particular time, because that time will not come again. It may come, but the scenarios would be different. So we waste our time because of this, because we are not able to communicate. Then we freeze, we break down with because our ego is not allowing us to get beyond what we are thinking, and we've lost an opportunity to communicate effectively.
Correct. And also what happens is we take relationships for granted. For an instance, if we talk about the thing like we are in office or we are in other gathering, people tend to like joke on each other, and we take that in a free spirit. We enjoy everything if jokes are on us also. But same thing if happens in family, then the problem arises. Acceptability is not there. The kind of
very true.
You don't take things in a right way, in a positive way when it comes to family, and you are always kind of angry in those situations. And in office situation, boss always scold their juniors. That is one thing, and juniors never yell back. When it comes to family, if somebody, your elder brother, yell at you, what do? You yell back. So these kind of relationship, if we talk about outside, we are more mature, we are more balanced, we take things in a positive way. But when it comes to family, we are all opposite. That is why the problem arises. That is why the conflict arises. And my next question was, why do conflict arise in relationship? Due to lack of communication or improper communication. This is one of the things. There are so many more things which we can discuss and we can understand here. So do share about some more areas where families need to
Yes,
think,
right.
families need to
So,
understand.
so basically, like as I already put forth, it is one basic, most important factor is ego,
Correct.
lack of empathy, and also there's a very important barrier to effective communication is poor listening skills. They say men don't listen to women,
Yeah,
so
it's,
women have to repeat.
it's both
Not
ways.
like that. Women, men, if you notice, they're biologically wired. See, no offense,
Ah,
any man, but I'm just saying that basically they're wired in such a way that when something is being told, and women like to say it many times, isn't it? So the man,
correct.
if he's not in that element, he doesn't even want to hear it once. So basically, when you look at it, there is basically a barrier to communication, which is poor
Correct.
listening skills on the part of the spouses, or poor listening skills on the part of the kid, the other members of the family, because no one's willing to listen. And what is listening? What I meant by listening is active listening. Now, you are communicating with, I am actively trying to be in sync with what is the message, or basically what you are trying to communicate with me.
Correct.
But what is happening in every communication is I am speaking or my spouse is speaking, and in my mind I am going to, I'm like my replies are being made ready. What will I speak to him next? How else I'm going to make him feel that I'm right?
Right.
Understood? So basically, we are not actively listening.
Correct.
That lack of effectiveness in listening causes another huge hurdle to communication,
Correct.
because we are waiting. We are waiting to give them a reply. So we are not listening to what the person is speaking.
Correct.
We are waiting to give the response. Or sometimes we cut the person, and like it happens in communication sometimes,
Right.
before the other person has spoken, we butt it.
Correct. And also, what happens is when we are communicating in outside scenario,
Yes.
we
Right.
give you time to listen and to understand. But in families, we are so quick to respond. That is again a big problem.
Right. We are so quick to reply because we are not listening. We only want to furnish our side of the story.
Correct. Agree with that. And on a lighter note, if we talk about men and women, not to offend anybody, but the storage capacity of men's brain is very less, and women's brain is very, very high, and they
Is
can
it? Okay.
point out things which is said, I think, 100 years ago. They remember.
But that's not my
something,
quality. I'm what you say, an exception to the rule.
possibly, but what I have seen is purely on the basis of just on a lighter note, not.
I know, and I understand that. Yeah.
But the
Right.
thing is, like it happens in a relationship when
Yes.
something happens, the kind of the memory
Blame
span,
game.
yeah, memory span of men are very less. They can reconnect things of the recent past, not the longer ones. But when it comes to women, they remember things which were said few years back. They also remember those things as well, and that things comes out to the discussion of a different topic altogether. Does not have any relevance of the thing which was done previously. So that tend to happen sometimes.
Yes, it does. I don't know how it is, but I don't fall in that category of women. I don't know. I don't seem to bring those kind of things more often than not, because I tend to forget where I have failed. I mean, it's like some kind of a spiritual kind of an awakening within myself, wherein I tend to I deliberately want to flush out where I have been on the failing side, and or somebody has failed me and has forgotten this, that, or has said things to me. I don't remember, because if you keep that, you can never grow.
Correct.
That's what I feel, because you're loaded with all of that, and that's going to affect your persona and your side. So I want to be a free spirit.
That is the real key to best communication thing, like right way of communicating things. And now we can discuss about some of the best ways to build a right communication among all relations we have in our family.
Okay, so basically, when you look at, or you're looking at, it's never too late to build those effective communication bridges. You can start from today if you've not been doing it. It's just about giving somebody time and to express. When somebody said that their teenage son is always yelling, so I told the person to step back, let the yelling happen, and after that, meet the person or meet the child at his level. So then the journey was different for this person. When the child yells and you're yelling, the two people yelling of different age groups. You have a parent yelling,
also
a
the communication barrier would tend to increase more.
Would tend to increase more. And the child is definitely going through his turbulence, his storm, stress and strain of adolescence, and one needs to step back. So now many people, like you must have recently heard about that young teen who shot his mother, must have heard about it. So basically that is a complete failure and breakdown of communication.
Correct.
When things get to that point, it's like flash point wherein you know that there has been a huge failure on the communication front. So we can remedy it. It's never too late. Yes.
Correct. That is one aspect. And second thing is everyone is passing through different times altogether, different kind of pressure, stress, anxiety. That again is happening with everybody, and everybody is suffering from these kind of things, whether you are a male or a female. Everybody has some or the other issues. So we need to understand that some person might possibly be passing through some kind of situation, and they also need to understand if they are passing through difficult times, their partner might possibly would also be passing through difficult times also. So need to understand and respect that too. And if you are passing through that point in time, that difficult phase, you need to give time to yourself, your family. In a way you can have a fruitful communication. You can have small talk, not necessarily large sentences, because small talks would help you build connection. And that would also lead to a communication which is you would be using small sentences, to the point things, and the thing is proper and appropriate.
Right. And communication is not always speaking, not always spoken word. And we communicate at least 60 to 80% of the times with our body language. So picking up those cues of a person's body language, a person's nuances, a person's facial expression, that should be a very effective key to understanding perhaps what a person is. Like the other day, a lady passed by me, and her walk past me showed that she was in a very aggressive mood. Now, how would I know it? Because I give classes in body language training, but that doesn't mean that people who only train in body language would know it. Anybody would pick up those nuances and those cues, those non-verbal cues. How would I know that my child is not feeling up to it? I would study his face. Okay, he need not speak all the time. So basically, communication is not only about a jarring sense of communication with the spoken word. It is also about understanding and picking up non-verbal cues of body language, which if you pick up in the right way and in the right perspective, you will be able to have many a healthy relationships and conversations with people across the board, family, friends.
Yes, and also sometimes no communication is one thing which is better.
It is. Yes, silence is also a great way to communicate. Like when I am basically, I'm not a great extrovert, but I would say a middle path now that I'm in an area that I have to communicate many times. But there are times when I just step back. I would be in this area in a zone wherein I'm with myself, examining and introspecting what's going on in my head. So that is intrapersonal communication, which we all have to do on a daily basis, because you need to know what's happening with yourself.
Correct. We need to take care of all these cues and try to have a proper communication. In a way, it should be two ways, not one way. Firstly. Secondly, you need to listen each other, understand what they are trying to convey, and thirdly, respond in a way which is responsible and accountable kind of a thing, because you hold some responsibility and accountability towards the person and the family as well. So that is really important. And third thing is sometimes no communication is also good enough to communicate well. And fourthly, you can have communication in a different environment also, which can be helpful. For an instance, if you are at home and not having proper communication, not able to talk freely, you can go outside in a garden or maybe a different place. There you can do communication. That would be more effectively as compared to the communication which you might possibly be having at your home. So these small things can help.
So very true. It's very well summarized.
Thank you for this. And if I talk about you already mentioned that you are half introvert, half extrovert now. And you also mentioned that earlier you were completely an introvert. So more onto it, current situation, if I talk about how you did the transition from introvert to kind of a mix introvert and an extrovert kind of a thing. and what were the pluses and minuses of the same?
Now, being an introvert, there are people who are introvert, but who, kind of rise to the occasion and are successful in life as well. But I was a person who was completely an introvert, not willing to take up any risks in life, any challenges, not wanting to go beyond my safe zone. I was in this very safe nest, wanting to be there, not wanting to do anything much in life. It was not till very late in life that I realized that this will not do, because this is not helping my persona. I'm talking about mind, body, soul, because I was feeling I was this person who's trapped in a body, who has the potential and is being suppressed by the person's own psyche. So
Right.
that's when I decided to challenge that psyche of my that I kind of possess, and I said, no, this is what I want to do. So that's where I transitioned from a non-performing introvert to somewhere I have achieved a balance, introvert extrovert balance. Like I've achieved a middle path. There are times I want to be with myself. There are times when I reach all out based on the situation. If I'm in a Zumba class, I can't be an introvert. I have to be energetic. I'm smiling. I have to be like, hey, ooh, and all of that. But if I'm in my own safe space in my bedroom, if I'm reading a book, I can revert and recoil into my nice cozy safe zone.
Right.
So that's how I maintain the balance. So today it's all about balancing between those two selves, introvert and the extrovert, and I draw the line.
Right, that is important because you need to be adjusting according to the situation, time. That helps.
Right.
If I talk about the kind of support you got from your family, friends, or colleagues, maybe, who were the people supported you the most?
I think more than my parents, I think friends have been supportive, and of course, husband. Got a very supportive husband, because when I said I want to take my Zumba license in Delhi, he booked all our flight tickets. Like, it took me and my kids, and we went up to Delhi, and I got my license. So whatever I do and the freedom I get. So basically, they say that life stops after marriage for most women in India. Okay, but then my life started after marriage. Like today, thanks to the trust and the confidence that my husband has in me, that he's given me total freedom to do what I want to do. Of course, not compromising on family goals, but and to draw the line. But I have not had any obstacle from his side, whether it was like now I'm hosting an event. I like to also organize small events. I'm hosting another event, a football event, wherein I would be felicitating a Padma Shri awardee from our state, and kids would be playing. So, he helps me, and I trust with funds and the moral support. And of course, I have sponsors. I have people who kind of rally around our trust, because they know what we are doing and the kind of services that we are rendering. So as of now, I'm also studying. I'm doing my test of English as a foreign language courses, and I'm doing my international diploma in teachers training from the Asian College of Teachers, because I want to kind of constantly be learning more and more. That would keep me abreast. And we believe, and our institute believes, that a teacher should always be a learner. There is no full stop in life. You have to learn, because you need to be relevant. Because today, if I'm speaking to students, I can't be going to the blackboard. I was, in fact, one of the few pioneer teachers when I was teaching English literature. I started using a notebook, a mini computer, laptop, and I went through a lot of criticism. Like, they used to say, how can she teach English literature without chalk and board? But I made that change. Then from criticism, everyone said, wow, this is a good way, audio visual. Why waste our time writing on the board? So everybody invariably switched to that. I use videos. I use audio visuals to kind of teach my students, and that's so interesting. There's sound, there's color, there is motion picture. So literature can be taught
more interactive as well.
Yeah, except for math or something like that you really can't. Yeah, but even today we use smart boards where you can, it's a great interface there that we can really. So I'm saying a teacher now. Some years back, this was not happening for us, because we never actually thought there would be a time where we would not use chalk and board. I hated chalk. So it was born out of my hatred for chalk and talk and board, because I used to get allergies. So I very nicely switched over to a very, non-chalk format, and teachers started with criticism, complaining to the principal, but then everybody started using it, and today everyone. So I believe that you need to be relevant, move with the change, educate with the changes happening. And I heard a teacher in psychology still using the terms idiot and morons. We cannot use it in today's parlance when we are teaching psychology to students. There are
True.
different other terms. Like you cannot say you can't use mentally retarded. Okay, we use gifted children now. We can't
Correct.
say we have to use words like special kids or gifted
Correct.
kids or differently abled kids.
Correct.
So
Because
we
that
have to
doesn't
be
look
relevant.
nice to be
It doesn't
like used.
true use,
Right.
but
Right.
I still hear teachers using it. That means they're not being relevant, or they are not growing with the kind of, because every year there's new things that come out and you have to keep abreast. And
Correct.
if you do
You
not
need to be.
educate yourself,
Yes, technology is also upgrading itself daily
upgrade.
basis.
True,
So
true,
you
true,
need to
true.
be like well versed with the technology and kind of new
Right.
thing coming up.
True, true, right.
Correct, correct.
Very true.
So if I talk about the kind of motivation and inspiration in your life, how you get that?
I think initially I used to look up to people for motivation, but then I thought to myself, those people also have looked up to somebody else. And for me, I feel that my motivation has to stem from within. Of course, I have role models. I have a few people that I follow, like Martin Luther King, and maybe a Mahatma Gandhi, and Barack Obama, and Indira Gandhi, and some, even it could be somebody just run off the mill, maybe a film star, and I like the person's work.
Right.
Okay, it could be anyone. I don't have really intellects all the time. Of course, our former president, I forget his name. How can I forget his name? APJ Abdul Kalam. He's my all-time favorite. Yes. So,
Right.
yeah, I kind of draw inspiration from them, but I know that inspiration has to be intrinsic, because they are all there for us
Correct.
for motivation. But if you lack it from within, then it doesn't make a difference. I may read all the books. There was a point in time when I was in my completely introvert phase, when I was reading all these books, right from Buddhism to Martin Luther King. Then I got into this phase wherein I used to chant a Buddhist chant. Then there was it caused a lot of confusion in my life and stuff like that. I realized that I was seeking, but I was not reaching anywhere. So when I turned my glance inward, now that I'm spiritually more awakened and more aware, is when I realized that motivation has to come from within.
Correct.
You have all these heroes and role models. Yes, they have done a great job in their lives and our lives, but who's your own hero is yourself. So you need to lift that person every morning, get the person out and say, Priya, today is a new day. You need to get up and get going.
Yes. And the motivation which comes from within, that lasts longer.
Longer, too.
That's great to hear about the thing. So if I talk about your take on success, how does it look like to you?
Success is beautiful, and success is something that should not be a final destination, because sometimes when you achieve that success, you tend to rest on those laurels. So success should be taken well in the right spirit, because once that is over, you've been successful in something, you've done well, it has to be like a lesson or something that has taught you something, how to move on. It's not that, well, I was successful, that's it, my life is done and I'm sorted and no one can tell me anything. So success
Right.
is an everyday, it should be an everyday experience wherein you do not rest happily and become very happy with what you've achieved, but it has to be a constant striving on the part of an individual to keep at it, and to
Right.
keep on with perseverance. So that's success for me. It's not about resting on my laurels and saying, well, I've done it and now nothing more to achieve. So that will dampen your spirit of enthusiasm.
Right. That's wonderful. So if I talk about the success, you rightly mentioned, that is not the final destination, that is actually a journey. And if I ask you for any message, advice you would like to share with our viewers and listeners?
Well, we have this one beautiful life to live. So live life to the hill, explore every aspect of your persona, grow every day, whether it's personally or professionally, because there's no dearth for your growth. It's only you who stunt your growth because
Right.
of the misconceptions that you may have about your potential. So never fall into this bracket of self-labeling.
Correct.
You have to live beyond certain labels perhaps that you may have got in school from friends, and you have to pleasantly shock others and yourself and keep trudging and keep learning and keep moving forward. Even if it's a small nano step, make that step with pride, and at the end of the day, when you lay your head on your bed to sleep, rest in such peace that you know that you've done your day well.
Right.
That's my advice to everyone.
That is really wonderful and very important, because what happens is we are looking for so many things in life. We sometimes miss the essence of life, which what we want to do, how it should be. Like we miss out on various aspects. That is really important. We should understand what exactly we are doing, how we are doing, what is our objective in life, where we want to reach. There are so many things we should know, and rest, when you have proper rest, that is really important, because that aspect is again important. I must say the discussion we had was really amazing. You have shared so many wonderful things about the communication, which is not taught to us in a school in a right way, because when it comes to relationship, we tend to learn things while doing it, or while exploring it, while experiencing it, but we don't get formal education how communication should be done within the family. That is one important part which is missing, and we discussed about that. That was really insightful, meaningful, and amazing. And I think I really enjoyed our conversation. Looking forward to hear more from you soon again on this topic, and furthermore on other topics as well. Thank you so much, Priya, for your time. It was really wonderful talking to you.
Likewise, I think the pleasure is all mine, and thank you for having me here. And I think I've also had this wonderful interaction. Thank you once more. It's been really great.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
And I'll also share the social media links and website if you have any, so that people can be in touch with you, take your help, guidance, attend your training programs as well, and upgrade themselves, upgrade their knowledge, skills, maybe. That will really help them. So guys, don't forget to check that out too. Thank you very much everyone for watching and listening. I hope you all must have gathered a lot of information and enjoyed watching it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Have a good time. Thank you, and bye-bye.